It's the 11th of June this evening, and as I'm about to start on another glowworm survey, which I'm hoping to cover all of the area that Dilys and I used to cover nightly a number of years ago, all adds up to about 6.5 kilometres. But before I set off, I'm being serenaded, if you can call it being serenaded, by a couple of juvenile tawny owls. These are at the what's called branching stage, where they leave the nest and then spend the successive nights hopping from branches on trees to tree. So it's time we set off on another glowworm adventure. Now, although we're fast approaching the middle of June, you wouldn't think it, and the temperature tonight is pretty much like what I'd expect at the end of April. It's going to drop below 10 at some time. Whether I do the full 6.5 kilometres this evening is dependent on how many glowworms I find along section O, which is this first section, and then sections L and M. There are quite a few sections to get through, and it'll take an hour at least to get through them, but we'll see if the glowworms are out. It's been dry all day from what I can recollect. It's been cloudy for the majority of the time, very little blue sky, and it's cloudy now. There's a few little chinks of lighter sky or clear sky that I can see, and hopefully they won't develop too much, otherwise the temperature really will drop. But at the moment I think temperature's about 11 or 12 or somewhere around there, so that should be all right for glowworms to appear. There's only one way to find out, and that's to start walking. Well, we have one female at least. This one is located in the lower part of section O. I've got about another 50 yards before I meet the first of the bottom sections of section L and then to M. But this one's glowing very, very nicely indeed. She's more or less on the ground, just clinging onto a grass blade, and as you can see, performing very nicely indeed. One leg waving there, almost as if to entice a flying male. But it's still quite light yet, although all the females will now be lit up like this one. And a lovely view she's affording us too. So, it's time to move on. Well, I'm doing quite well actually at the moment, and I'll try and illustrate where I've been and where I am by inserting an assortment of maps as I go through the different areas. Just the one female ended up with in section O, nothing in section L. Then, once reaching the end of section L, I nipped up section P, again a fruitless search, no glowworms up there, but I did get 2 in section M. And then before going back along section L, I've nipped up section N, which I haven't been up for years actually, and found another 2 glowworms. So now the plan is back down section N, along section L again, and then we start the uphill climb through K and J, and then go along the top path. So by my reckoning, 5 females at the moment, all are tucked really well down in the vegetation. So off we go. Well, we're doing quite well. I'm now in section K, and this is the second female in section K. I'm just over halfway up. But I did manage to find another female in section L, which took us on to 6. So with the 2 that I've had, including this one, in section K so far, the total for the evening is 8. Be interesting to see what this total will be tonight, because at another site in Nottinghamshire at Harlow Wood, there was a count of 63 females almost a week or so ago. This site is going to be well behind that, I'm sure, and no area has a concentration of females. It's just 1s and 2s in each of the survey sections so far, but we have a lot more to do. So as this one continues to glow, she's facing away from us at the moment, at least headwise she is, but giving us a really good view of the glowing plates there. So 8 females on, the rest of section K and then section J to do. Well, we're doing well. I got a third at the top of section K after I filmed that last female, and already at the moment in section J, this is the 4th female, and I can see the 5th female slap bang out in the open in the very middle of the path. This one is right on the edge of the path and is very showy indeed. Beautiful things. They always look like glowing false teeth to me. And then you have the 2, what Dilys and I always call the 2 anal plates right at the very end. Fabulous things. And this one again is right at ground level. I think a front end is just clinging onto a small blade of grass, but glowing very nicely. So we'll nip and have a look at that one. It's about 10 yards further up the path. And this is that one that I mentioned, just 10 yards up from the last one, right in the middle of the path. And not 2 yards away on the other edge of the path, I can see a 6th female in section J. We'll just illuminate this one a little bit, just to give you an idea of where she is. There, sat completely in the open, abdomen curled round in the middle of the path here. Usually when they do this, they will retire after glowing, which will usually be any time in the early morning hours. Might even be a little bit earlier on what is quite a cool night, or will be a cool night. And usually they'll go off into the vegetation at the side of the track. Quite often the following night they're back out right in the middle. But I will be moving this one off the middle of the path here. Glowing beautifully. I need to write these down before I lose count, and I need to make tracks and carry on with the survey. Well, I've come across the first part of the top path in section F. Now, the top path was always the last area of Clipsnell Quarter in which glowworms would start to glow. The bad news is that we're only just into the 2nd week of June, and there's already a number of glowworms along there, and I've still got some of the sections to cover yet. But at the moment, after coming through section F, which is the first section, up to the crossroads, there are 2 females in section F. I'm on my way back up through section I, and this is the 3rd female of section I, and I know that there's one already in another one of the sections to count, because I've already seen that. This one is in leaflet. If I just illuminate her, she's just starting to turn round there, as you can see. Quite decent sized female. I haven't seen males with any of these females, and she's just repositioning herself, and will continue glowing. So back up through section I, and then we've got section G and H to cover, and then it's back towards the centre tree. Well, to the accompaniment or annoyance of a juvenile tawny owl to my right, I'm just now retracing my steps through section S, walking along the top path back towards the centre tree. Now I found another 2 females on the way back up through section I, so that made 5 females, one of which had a male. It's the only one so far. There was just a single female present in section G, but 3 females in section H, which is a short section that Dilys and I used to cover. The next section will be section S and section E, and as I walk along here, the female which I recorded earlier is still glowing nicely, so we're doing well for females this evening, and I'll have a count up shortly. The sound of Sherwood Forest. If it wasn't for the traffic about a mile away, there wouldn't be anything. It's gone particularly quiet. You hear various rustles and twigs snapping, I suppose, as you walk around, but they're all perfectly normal noises of the forest on a night time. But it's really settled down tonight. Not a breeze or a rustle of a leaf in the treetops. Perfectly still and quiet. Absolutely lovely. You certainly need good strength of mind, really. Don't let your mind wander. That's when you imagine all sorts of things. And I've seen that elsewhere on YouTube there are a couple of so-called paranormal channels that have investigated Sherwood Forest, and they've heard all sorts. They haven't. They think they've heard something, or indeed they may have heard something, all perfectly normal rustles and snaps of twigs of the forest. There's no supernatural things here. Unless, of course, this sound recording picks up some strange voice, but it won't. Beautifully quiet. And I'm at the start of section S now, so it's a long section S. See if we've got any female glowworms along here, then down through section E, then quickly back up section J, so we can come down the grass strip sections of D, C, B and A. So, lights out. Well, very successful walk down through section S, in which there were 4 female glowworms. So I'm just walking up section D. Those 4 females were all in close proximity, all within a couple of square meters. And then going down section E, there were 3 females at the top and a further 3 females scattered along section E down towards the bottom. So 4 females in section S and 6 in section E. So now just walking up the path up section D to the centre tree, and then it's down through the grass strip. Once I get to the centre tree, I'll have a tot up and see how we're going. Well, I've reached the bottom of section D, and a total of 7 females. We must be more or less at a peak, I would imagine, across the site. I can tell you at the moment we've got a total of 43, which has exceeded my expectations. But there again, the evening isn't as cool as I was expecting, and most of the females that I'm finding now are indeed well up off the ground, including this beauty here. So I've still got 3 sections to go through, and at the end of those 3 sections we'll have a complete roundup of the full total from across the whole site. This is the 6.5 kilometre route that Dilys and I did every single night when we recorded glowworms here. We never used to miss a night during the glowing season. And it's the first time I've done it for many years, and quite frankly, I don't know how we did it. But there again, we were both younger and fitter in those days. And as this female turns her back on us and illuminates the other side, I love it when they do that. So we'll have a count up at the end of the whole site, and then a count up if I'd only done the normal survey sections. But at the moment, we're on 43. Well, at the end of the survey, and perhaps a rather disappointing end, because I miscalculated at the end of the last clip. I said that there was 43 and I was actually on 44. But despite going through sections C, B and A, I've only added another 2 on, and they were both in section A. I quite worry about sections B and C. They used to be very active years ago, but well, clearly less so now, and have certainly been affected by the scrub encroachment of a number of years ago. However, across the whole site, a total of 46 female glowworms, and that's the whole site, all the survey sections that Dilys and I used to do all those years ago. Had I just walked around the normal survey sections of O, L, M, K, J, D, C, B and A, it would have been half of that total, but I would still have been ecstatic about 23, although 23 or 46 either still represent quite poor totals, or certainly mediocre totals for this site, once the best site for glowworms by a country mile in Nottinghamshire, and now certainly second best to Harlow Wood. So I've got about 10-15 yards to walk back to the road and to the car. But it's been a brilliant night. The temperature has surprisingly held up, and that's because the sky has stayed cloudy. So, as the first car for what seems like ages comes along Peeville Lane, it's time to end tonight's little foray.